Hi everybody, this is Bill Sanders, and this is WatchArtSci, the art and science of watch collection. Today what we're going to do, we're going to take a look at Tony's collection, and it's one I think you're going to like. I like it a lot. You have a lot of strong and high horology in this collection, and you have some that aren't, but are still cool watches. And so let's take a look at these. The first one is one of my all-time favorite watches, the Glashütte Original Panamatic Lunar, and it just looks good. It's got that big small seconds, so if you want to see the seconds, you can actually see them in some of my watches with small seconds. It's like you need a magnifying glass. It has the in-house movement, 9002, and it's in a 40 millimeter case. The outer limits for my case is about 41 millimeters, and I like a 40 millimeter just fine, and I can maybe all the way down to a 37 millimeter is where I find my sweet spot. But anyhow, this one is certainly in it. I don't know. I think this one's 40 or something like that. It still has some. Doesn't look like a frisbee on my wrist. All right, so the Glashütte Original Panamatic Lunar, great watch. Now the next watch is Panerai, and I've always had issues with Panerai. Nothing wrong with Panerai per se, except it's like a box of chocolates. You never know what's going to be inside. And when Panerai, some of the early ones back in, I think in the 40s, they had Rolex movements in them. I know some of them have Girard-Perregaux movements. But for the most part, the ones that have surprise movements, it's not a good surprise. They got, in my opinion, they got too many ETAs, and they do sell them cheaper, but not in, again, what I think are ETA prices. But this one, this isn't an ETA, and it's not a out of Panerai movement. Not only is it an in-house movement, it's one I really like. Well, first of all, the Panerai Radiomir 1940. That's the one, and there are a lot of Panerai that look a lot like it. Okay, and you got to look very carefully. I'll put it that way. If the price is much lower, probably not this watch. Okay, even though they may look a lot alike. Okay, this one has the P4000 movement. And this is an in-house, a Panerai movement. And the movement has something that I really like a lot, and this is the micro rotor. And it's off center, and they got it down there, and you can have, now it's a good size watch. It's 42 millimeters, so you can get a pretty good size movement in there. And by the way, too, one of the important things, if you get a watch, a bigger size watch, you want to try to get one with a movement that fills the watch. That way you have a lot better chance of everything working. With the smaller ones, it becomes much more difficult. Okay, well, this one is a honey of a watch. It's one, the Panerai, if you're going to get one, you got to look carefully at them. And Tony must have looked very carefully at this one because, in my opinion, he got one of the best ones around. And the black and silver was sort of the faded yellow luminance dials with a black band. This is just a gorgeous watch. You could wear it to work. You could wear it out on to a party. Just gorgeous, gorgeous in every way. Really like this one a lot. Okay, this next watch, it's a pilot. Well, it's built by a company founded by pilots, and I used to be a pilot, and so I love pilot watches. I don't have one, but I like them. These have the best cases in the business. They are, I forget what their ad said, but they're like over tested. Those are tough as nails. And Bremont is moving uh, perhaps at a glacial speed toward their own in-house movement, and they have a lot of the modules that make up Bremont are in-house, and so it's moving toward what I would consider a strong horology. Okay, the case is 43 millimeters. This is a good size watch. And the model and the choice of the model with the black bezel and the white dial and the black numbers, and then the black and white hands. Whew, this is a gorgeous watch. Yeah, another thing I like too is that the date is between the 4 and the 5. The only problem with that, from what I can see, the window's a little small. I mean, make a little bigger window for it. That would help. Another thing that's very cool is the crowns at 4 o'clock. And so sometimes, I've got one at 2 o'clock on this particular watch. And the thing about it is that this part, when your wrist goes up, you don't have the crown to get into your wrist. The same thing on that one. It's a very cool watch. Well chosen watch. You're going to get a Bremont. Boy, I tell you, that is a very well chosen one. Just looks great. I can't think of Bremonts that I don't like the looks of. There might be some that have they're crowded with everything in the world. I like the center seconds better than I do the small seconds, but what the heck. Okay, this next watch is one that is Sea Dweller 4000. To me, this is like a solid, reliable sports watch. 40 millimeter, I like that size a lot. It's got its own in-house movement, the 3135. And, it's just like good, reliable, solid watch with strong horology. And so I think it's a very cool one to have. I don't know if Tony gets like me. You have so many watches you like, you don't know which one to wear. Okay. Anyway, now the final two watches that I'm going to look at are owned by Swatch. In other words, Swatch bought the company at one time or another. The first is a Blancpain, and let me say this before I say anything else. It's gorgeous. Love that one. With it's sort of like a Depression era, that sort of that green, that creamy green around the bezel. It to me is beautiful. Now I know it's a driver's watch, but this is to me it would be if I had it, it would be a desk driver's watch. I wouldn't take that thing in the water. I just wear it and look at it all the time. It's got an in-house movement of 1315 with a base 13 RO. And it's got a pretty good size case to it. It's 45 millimeters, which to me may be a little big for me, but one that looked that good, I wouldn't care. It just is. It's called the Blancpain 50 Fathoms. All right, now this is where we get into high horology, and Blancpain certainly belongs there. They have an inseparable, I'll put it that way, relationship with Frederic Piguet movement, because I think Frederic Piguet bought Blancpain a long time ago, and at some time Blancpain and Frederic Piguet was bought by Swatch, and what Swatch did was saying, okay, Frederic Piguet, you're going to be the in-house for Blancpain, and that's what happened to them. Now, the reason that this interests me is that my most recent watch is this Harry Winston. And the Harry Winston, even though it has a Girard-Perregaux movement with an Agenhor module to it for the retrogrades, is not going to be the same anymore. I talked to some people at the Harry Winston boutique in New York, and was told that I don't think they're going to have the Opus series anymore, which is they had sort of a guest uh, designer, watchmaker every year, and they had a different Opus, and they just had the most incredible people do it. The first one was F.P. Journe, and they had Jean-Marc Viderec do. I think he did the Opus 9, won the award for one of the Grand Prix awards. Okay, now that's what I like. But now my watch and Tony's watch, they're both owned by Swatch. What's Swatch going to do with them? Are they going to sort of try to push the high horology and make them into even more interesting watches? Or are they just going to sort of coast? I don't know. I have no idea, but it's an interesting kind of thing to ponder. Another high horology mark that's owned by Swatch is also Breguet. So they've got three really sort of high-end luxury dash high horology watches now. So okay, now the last watch is also owned by Swatch, and this is a Rado, and it's a beautiful Rado. Rado doesn't make its own movements. This one's got an ETA 2681, gorgeous watch. This is my Rado. I wore this thing for about 20 years, and it looks almost brand new. One of the things that Rado is known for is using innovative kinds of materials in their watch cases and faces and so forth. And when I got mine, the use of titanium was relatively new in watchmaking, and but Rado will come around. They'll try all kinds of different mix in this. Now, I'm not sure what they used on the dial for this, but to me it looks gorgeous. It's just a beautiful watch. The Hyperchrome Court automatic. I think they were sort of like looking at this as the kind of thing you take to a swanky tennis club and play tennis with. Probably need to swap that bracelet for a rubber strap, though, in doing it. Okay, so here we've looked at Tony's collection, and I was thinking about it and say, well, where do you go from here? Oh, and there are dress watches, sports watches, even a pilot's watch. They have, starting off with that beautiful Glashütte original. So, what would the recommendation be? What I think I would do is look for a watch, and it could be any one of these brands or another good brand that has an interesting complication. Now, the lunar module, or the moon phase that's in the Glashütte original, that's an interesting complication. I don't particularly care for the ones where they got so many complications they can cram into a dial, but just a few interesting ones. Now, this one has no complications at all. This one has the bi-retrograde, which is a lot of fun. And I have some other watches with unique complications. One of my favorite complications, and this might be a watch to look for, is one with the power reserve meter on it. They just, you wind it up, and then the little power reserve indicator goes down as it becomes unwound. I not only do I find those very handy. Now that's on a manual wound watch. I've seen them on automatics, and they look. Why would you want it for that? That might be a thing that you might want to do. But right now, I mean, you don't have. There's not a collection. This collection isn't one full of holes. This is a wonderful collection, and I congratulate you, Tony. Okay, this has been Bill Sanders and WatchArtSci, the art and science of watch collection. As usual, I really like hearing your comments. If you have anything to say, hey, Tony, this might be something you might think of adding, or or tell me I'm full of beans, whatever you want to do. And also, too, if you like, you can subscribe. This is an invitation to subscribe. Okay, until next week, next Friday, this is Bill Sanders, and I hope to see you then.